Cameron did not only take portraits, but also liked to dress her friends and family in costumes and stage sometimes elaborate scenes that told a particular story, not unlike neoclassical or romantic art we've studied, although now with the new technology of photography. Whisper of the Muse is a pictorialist image, a photograph that aims to be capital A art by looking like a painting. That can involve the soft, dreamy focus and even more so the content or story. Here, the title evokes the Muses, those figures from Greek mythology who inspire visual artists, poets, and musicians. The youth of these young girls provides an intentional contrast with the grizzled age, though we can assume wisdom and skill, of the old man, going back to those same themes from Claus's still life with a skull and writing quill. Life is precious and fleeting, but art endures. Some of these pictorialist photographs definitely feel like they're trying too hard. They strike our contemporary eyes as false and weepy. In Fading Away, Henry Peach Robinson has staged a scene designed to tug at the heartstrings. A young girl, clearly ill, hovers at the brink of death as her mother and sister gaze mournfully at her. Her father can't even bear to watch, turning away dramatically, his arm across his eyes. Robinson has composed this print by combining multiple negatives, drawing an even closer line between photography and painting. If we turn back to Mathew Brady, though, we see photography embraced not as another artistic medium, like a set of brushes and oil paint, but rather as a tool of documentation. Brady is famous for his portraits of Abraham Lincoln, whom he has captured here in a clear, no-nonsense representation. If you're a history buff, you may also look at the date and recognize it as the first year of the American Civil War, an event that Brady also documented. Photographic technology at that time was far too slow to capture action on the battlefield, so Brady produced dramatic images of the carnage afterward. This is no romanticist painting of the heroism of battle, but a gruesome document of its destruction. Brady was documenting, but he also wasn't above rearranging a scene slightly for greater storytelling effect. Today, in modern photojournalism, this would be absolutely forbidden. Remember, though, that a photograph, even the most seemingly documentary, is always about choices. The photographer chooses the subject matter and how to frame it, as well as making decisions about lighting, focus, and how to develop the final image. The fact that photographs are made by a machine and not by the artist's hand holding a pencil or brush lend them the sense of objectivity. But from Daguerre to Brady and much later photographers as well, it's important to remember what isn't captured by any given photograph. Let's shift gears now to realism, another way of artists to attempt to get at the truth. You may recognize the name Honoré Daumier from the earlier caricature of Nadar sailing above Paris in a hot air balloon, and here he is lampooning another figure in a much more aggressive representation, the French king Louis Philippe. The history of modernism in France is the history of revolutions and unrest. Napoleon was defeated in 1815 and replaced by a series of Bourbon kings who were ousted by the July Revolution in 1830. Louis Philippe, an Orleans king, came to the throne that year and was toppled in 1848 by the French Revolution, which ushered in the Second Republic and rule by Napoleon III and collapsed in 1870. Louis Philippe called himself the Citizen King and at first was widely admired, although shortly, as this caricature suggests, conditions and his reputation deteriorated. Here, the king, with recognizable although distorted features, is shown as the giant Gargantua. To the right, the emaciated poor are forced to give their last pennies to feed his insatiable appetite, which below his throne, the result in the form of decrees and bureaucracy is, shall we say, expelled. Oh, and the shape of his head? Well, if it reminds you of a well-known emoji, you're picking up Daumier's vibe. Needless to say, the king wasn't fond of Daumier's irreverent take, and printing was halted by police and government before it could be published in Charles Philippon's publication La Caricature. Both Philippon and Daumier were assessed a hefty fine and sent to jail. To pay off those fines, Philippon began a monthly lithograph subscription service, which included this very dark print by Daumier. The title, Rue Transonin, April 15, 1834, gives the address and date of a violent murder of civilians by the National Guard. Apparently responding to gunshots, the troops stormed into the working-class apartment building, sowing death and destruction. Philippon, the publisher, released this statement with Daumier's print of the scene. This lithograph is horrible to behold, as horrible as the dreadful event it recounts. It shows a murdered old man, a dead woman, the corpse of a terribly wounded man lying upon the body of a poor little baby whose head is split open. It is not a satire. It is a bloody page in the history of our modern era, a page sketched by a powerful hand and inspired by a lofty imagination. Copies of this print were also confiscated, and the stone used to print it. Remember that the root litho means stone, and in lithography, especially prepared stone is drawn upon, creating rich and often very expressive lines, as we see here, was also destroyed. Here, Daumier has starkly and without melodrama depicted great violence perpetuated by the state, and the state has responded with censorship. A different kind of stark reality is shown in this oil painting by Gustave Courbet. This is a massive canvas, nearly 22 feet long and more than 10 feet tall. Take a few moments to study this painting using the high-resolution version at the link I've provided. Make a detailed inventory of what you see. The French Academy considered this painting offensively bad. Why do you think they disliked it so much?